Hi, everyone. Today I have with me Sarah. She is one of the organizers of the Grace Upon Grace project, and they're based out of Colorado. And we're super excited to hear her story of how they started their menstrual equity initiatives and how they're supporting different families in need with a variety of products. So let's hear it from Sarah herself. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe one thing that you love to do in your free time?
Yeah, so I am a counselor. I am a lover of women and women empowerment. Um, I do a lot of online, I have a podcast, a few other things, all focused around personal growth. I One thing I love to do is travel. Love to travel. Yes.
That's awesome. If you could go to one place right now, where would you want to go?
Probably Australia.
Ooh, okay. Interesting choice. You're not worried about any of the like creepy crawlies that might be there.
I think if I could just visit and not have to, live there and worry about it year round, I think I could handle it. Yes.
Okay, I love that. So touching a little bit more onto the Grace Upon Grace project, how did you become passionate about the issue of period poverty and some of the other needs that the Grace Upon Grace project addresses?
Yeah. So our founder is Emily Jorgensen. She's the one who created Grace Upon Grace Project. And she had a situation where she went on a vacation overseas and didn't bring enough period products with her, wasn't prepared, and had a big situation on her way home of having essentially to make makeshift pads out of toilet paper, different things. Um, and she got back and really well at one point she stopped and got some products at an airport and ended up paying like $40 for a couple of pads, and it really it became heavy on her heart that this how can people pay $40 for pads or so she came back and was like, I need to do something about this. So I met Emily. When I met Emily, and this is kind of embarrassing to say, but I didn't know, I'd never heard the term period poverty before. And so she really brought that into my awareness. And as soon as, it's like those aha moments like, oh, wow, how have I never been aware of this before? But I have been privileged in my life to not have to think about that. And as soon as I heard about it, I mean, it was completely in alignment with me because I want to empower women in every single way possible. And also, I think normalizing the conversation about periods is really important to me because growing up, that wasn't a normalized, it was something to be embarrassed of. You weren't supposed to talk about it, you had
Mhm.
to hide it, and how shaming I think that it is for so many women, is definitely something that I would love to work to break that stigma and help women feel empowered in rather than shameful about.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for sharing the beginnings and that story of how you got started. Um, so far, can you tell us a little bit about how the response has been to the Grace Upon Grace initiatives?
Yes, it's actually been amazing. We started in fall of 2019 out of Emily's basement. And not too long after COVID hit. And so that threw everything off. And we were essentially driving products all over where we live in Northern Colorado. But then we had a storage space donated to us. And there's just really been a beautiful and amazing outpouring of support from the community and people who want to help and want to be a part of the mission.
Mhm. That's awesome. It's really nice to hear when like a community rallies together to support such an important mission. And yeah, I'm curious to know, do you have any stories of how the Grace Upon Grace project has impacted someone's life?
You know, we hear a lot of stories about how women are so grateful because they have had to choose between, they would have had to choose between food for their families or period products or, you know, really unfortunately, I think a lot of women see period products as a luxury and they're not. And so to be able to come in and get those things that they need without having to make the choice between something else that they desperately need, it's a really awesome, awesome thing. Lots of stories like that, stories about it really helping them to decrease their shame around their periods, knowing that they have the products that they need. Especially, I'm thinking of a story specifically from a woman who is part of the homeless population and her talking about, you know, how she didn't know what she was going to use and how shameful that was. And so to be able to have those products and how it increases her dignity and her sense of self-worth and all of those things, which is just a beautiful thing to be able to be a part of and see.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think like hearing what you shared about each of like the different unique experiences people face when struggling to afford period products or just struggling with access to period products. Yeah, it's definitely something that we at Ruth are also super passionate about. So very happy to hear that. Yeah, there are people like you and organizations like the Grace Upon Grace Project that are working to tackle this. Um, have there been any specific challenges that you faced with the Grace Upon Grace project?
Yeah, definitely COVID has been our biggest challenge so far. But also, you know, there's just challenges around accessibility. And so there's barriers to people being able to come to our facility and pick things up. And so we're really looking into ways to get these products in the hands of people all over who can't get there right in person. And so that's something that has been a challenge that we're really working towards figuring out, you know, how do we get these items to people who how can we go to them essentially? And that's the biggest barrier right now that we're trying to work through and find an answer to.
Mhm. Yeah, that definitely makes sense with accessibility being like a very important part of the whole logistics of actually setting up the distribution. So yes, we understand that too. Um, Something a little bit lighter. What is your vision for the Grace Upon Grace project in one sentence?
Ooh. I would say to rid the world of period poverty, to make sure every woman has the supplies that they need.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Very well put. Um, Now we'd like to ask you a couple questions more specific to your personal experience with periods, and also your experience as a mom. So, do you have any period hacks or tips that you've used in the past?
Hmm. Well, I would say, first of all, don't be shameful about it.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I think that just to even be able to talk about it with your friends or with people who are close to you, I think is such a huge thing to not feel like you have to be in hiding or you have support or whatever it is surrounding it. So I would say that that's probably mainly I'm like, I don't know. I haven't had a period in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I kind of forget maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is fair. Um, so a lot of the people in our audience may not have, I don't know, gone through the stage of life when they've had children yet. So as a mom, how has your period changed after having children? Or are there things about like pregnancy and then like postpartum that change with periods?
Yeah, for sure. I honestly, my period got worse over the years after I had my last son specifically. And that's why I don't have a period anymore because I ended up having a hysterectomy because my periods were so heavy that for a couple of days a month, I felt like I didn't want to go anywhere because I was constantly worrying I was going to leak through my pants or because they were so extremely heavy. And so that the going back to the hack, like even in something like that, I remember feeling so ashamed, like I can't tell anyone I don't want to go here because my period is so heavy. And now looking back, I wish I would have been just more open and honest about it and normalize that conversation better.
Mm-hmm. And during that time, like how did you manage the very heavy flow?
Well, you just kind of double up and go about your day, but it's interesting. I had a job at one point where I testified in court a lot, and I testified in court one day when I was on a really heavy day, and I had to sit there for an hour and a half in the same place. And I remember when I stood up, I was wearing a dress with these tall boots and blood just went pouring down the side of my leg. And I don't know if anybody noticed. I mean, obviously they didn't say anything if they did, but I was absolutely mortified. But what do you do? I mean, what can you do, right? It's not something that I can say, well, not I have to stay home today. I can't come and do this. So I think you just do the best that you can, try and pre-plan the best that you can, but also know that it's a part of you, it's a part of life. And if there's mishaps, then that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that definitely you took that well, and I agree with you. Like there's some things in life that you just can't, you can't expect or anticipate, but you do your best to try and prepare yourself for those things.
Yeah.
Another question I had was, do you have any funny stories related to your period? But I don't know, the story you just told kind of topped whatever expectation I had about a funny story. So I don't know if you still want to answer that or if you want me to move on to some of the things I want to ask about.
Yeah, I don't know if it's funny, but when I was younger, my mom didn't talk to me about periods or what to expect or
Mhm.
and so I remember when I got my period for the first time, I thought I was dying. I thought I had cancer. I think it's funny now looking back. At
Mhm.
the at the time I didn't think it was very funny. But just an example of why it's so important for us as parents, when you do become a parent, to talk to your kids about it and let them know and prepare them, because you never know what they're going to
Mhm.
think is happening.
Yeah, no, I can 100% relate to that. I had the exact same thought when I first got my period, and I was like on the toilet crying and calling my mom and telling her like something was wrong. I needed to go see a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can definitely relate there. And now that you are a mom yourself, how do you talk to your children about menstruation, or how do you plan to talk to them about menstruation?
Yeah, well, my son is 9 and he is very much involved with me at Grace Upon Grace Project. And so he sorts tampons and pads and all of those things. And I really want to normalize that for him, and just talk very openly. My daughter's almost 21, so we're kind of past that at this point. But with both of my kids, I think the goal is to be as open and um, as safe of a place as possible for them to be able to come and ask questions and um, really get true, real information, rather than going to their friends or the internet and finding information that's really maybe not valid. But normalizing it, I'm super excited that when he gets older and he gets into a relationship, if it, is with a woman, that he's going to be not afraid of it, and he's going to be supportive of her. And um yeah, and it's just going to be a normal thing. So
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I love that he's getting involved too and helping out kind of from day one since you guys have been working on this. So that's very awesome.
thanks.
Um, do you have any questions or anything that you would like to share about the Grace Upon Grace project that I haven't asked you about yet?
um just that I think the hope is you know we're currently only serving northern Colorado, and that the hope is that it also becomes a ripple, right? I think it's super cool that we're talking and you're in Canada,
Mhm.
because we can serve in our community, but also that service in the community really can be a ripple to other communities and other countries, and all over the world, to help this in normalizing and de-shaming the periods for women. And so I think just knowing that we're all really in this together, and that we need each other to really make the impact on a bigger level that we want to make.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's well put. And again, like I agree. I think it's super cool that we're chatting and we're in different communities, but we're able to both kind of bond over the work that's being done.
Mm-hmm.
So that is awesome. And to share a little bit more about Ruth, for us, our goal is really to make sustainability an easy choice. And we're starting with sustainable periods. And our pads are disposable and biodegradable. And we're launching through a crowdfunding campaign in a couple weeks. And we're offering discounts to people who sign up on our VIP list right now through our website at getruth.ca. And there's also a link in our Instagram bio where our handle is also getruth.ca. So for anyone watching, feel free to follow along for different product updates and to hear about sustainability tips or period tips. We're happy to have you join the Ruth community.